worship. You want a fact of life for today? The fact of life for today is when the pastor goes away with the first lady on an anniversary trip, you get the bench warmers. Third string that. Um, for any of you that may be first time guests, let me explain a little bit. My name is Kip Gullidge. I am what they call the creative pastor here. My job is to paint wood, make props for the pastor. Um, I like to be back there in the dark and the quiet, and nobody can see who I am. And it never fails that he finds a reason to get me up here, no matter how us talking for a minute. I know that I'm whining to him enough, so you guys aren't. Is all I'm saying. So, anyway, please, if this is your first time, please don't base your visit with us today on me, because we have a pastor who is a really good pastor. I know I'm biased, but he's a good man, got a good word. Um, please come back and visit us again. Um, we say it takes a couple of times to get used to the place because of the lights and the smoke and everything. Some people, we do things a little bit different. We're proud of it, though. Um, Facts of Life. You may have noticed the plaque on the way coming in. Facts of Life. We're in a series right now that the pastor started a couple of weeks ago, which he's taken some facts of life, basically, and we're having problems. Anyway, he is cross-referenced them with the Bible and brought out some truths and things that we've needed to hear. Um, I will tell you that trying to write a message is very difficult, and it's even more difficult when the pastor pigeonholes you into a certain topic. So I had to kind of work my way in. I hope I've got something here. I'll be honest with you, that when I first started this thing, I struggled um, in the direction that I wanted to go. Apparently the Lord did not want me to go, because we didn't end up there. So I had to back up and punt during the week. They say, Lord can take a mess and make a message, so we're going to put him to the test today. Most of you who have been coming here for a while, you know me, you know my family. Um, I'm in and out here all the time, up here on stage when I have to be. Um, my wife, Nikki, she sits in the back in the media booth. She's the one that creates all these things you see on the screen. She controls all those things. Kaylin, my daughter, she is on the praise team. You know, she's up here. Brennan, a 9-year-old, quite frankly, he's probably in and out of rows and in and out of doors. But most of you are familiar with my whole family. I'm going to let you in on a little bit of information that you probably, at least most of you probably did not know. My wife has 5 other children. I'd like to introduce you to them if I could. Okay? These are my wife's other children. Yes, sir. You better believe it. We have 5. Anybody else got 5 dogs or more? Anybody else got 5 dogs or more living in the house with them? In the house. That's right. They stay up in the house with us. They've got their own little door, and they come and go as they please. I get asked a question a lot of times, well, how do you do it? How do you put up with 5 dogs in the house? Lots of prayer and supplication. I promise you. Never gets boring at my house. Nikki's father, whenever we decided we were going to get married and we told everybody, he called me off to the side. He said, we got to have a talk. And I thought I was going to get the typical father, son-in-law talk where he's going to break my legs if I didn't take care of her. And so we got together, and much to my surprise, he was wanting to give me a warning, actually. He said, she's a good girl. She's going to make you a good wife. He said, but you need to go ahead and understand something right now. She had 2 dogs at the time, by the way. She loves her animals, and do not make her choose between those animals and you. So to this day, when people ask how do you do it, I say, I was forewarned. I can't complain. But anyway, it's never a dull moment at my house. These guys come and go. When we leave the house, we never know what we're coming home to. When we go to bed at night, We never know what we're getting up to. And from time to time, let's say 3 o'clock in the morning, they're going to bust off in a chorus. They have heard a dog that's probably 15 miles away from my house. How they hear him, I have no idea whatsoever, but they can hear him, and they go to pitching a fit. And I found a cartoon a while back. It shows, it's a Far Side cartoon. It shows a scientist who has invented a collar that goes around the dog's neck, and it interprets everything that the dog says. So he cuts it on, and the dog's going woof, 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 and it translates as hey, 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 hey. So at nighttime, when the neighborhood dogs are all going roop, 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 everybody's going hey, 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 hey. That's in my mind. That's what I've got in my mind. The ironic thing about that is they can hear a dog 15 miles away, but would you put that cartoon up? I want you to see this cartoon. This guy's getting out of bed to go use the bathroom in the middle of the night. When he comes back, can you see that? He's got 5 dogs laid in his spot. That's not a joke. That's my life. If I move at any given time, my spot is gone. And then I'm over here. They can hear a dog 15 miles away, but they can't hear me saying, get up, get up, get up. It's like I don't exist. Anyway, I'm having a little fun with them, and I'm probably digging a hole, quite frankly. But we'll move on from that, and maybe we'll come back around to them in a little while. But as I said before, I was struggling trying to get a message together, whatever. And once the other one fell through, I started digging in some old devotionals and doing some research and everything. And I came across a guy, Ron Cutchcraft. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but I really like his devotionals. And he had a special devotional. And I got to reading. It was very interesting. It talked about dogs in the Bible. And I don't know if you know or not, but dogs are mentioned quite frequently in the Bible. I'll give you some examples. Proverbs 26:11 says, as a dog returns to his vomit, and I'm sorry, so a fool repeats his folly. Basically, dog's going to throw up, and he's going to eat what he just threw up. Same thing when a person's going to keep making the same mistake over and over and over. You can keep repeating it. Matthew 7:6, do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under the feet, and they turn and tear you to pieces. If it's holy, keep it holy. Don't throw it to dogs. Kind of self-explanatory. 2 Kings 9:33 and 37, which is basically the scriptures about Jezebel, and Jezebel's been killed. So they throw her down, and some of her blood splattered on the wall, and the horses which trampled her. And they went inside and ate. And when they came back out, but first they said, let's go see to the cursed woman and bury her, for she is a king's daughter. But when they went to bury her, they found no more than the skull, her feet, and her palms. The dogs had come and eaten her, which was prophesied. And so it was a prophecy fulfilled. The thing I want you to realize is probably in 95% of the references in the Bible when they talk about dogs, it's not Spot is at home, is all cute and cuddly and wants to lay up in the bed with you, sit on your lap. We're talking about mongrels. We're talking about wild animals that fed on garbage, roadkill. Supposedly it's still that way now in the Middle East. The dogs, I mean, I'm sure they have pets and they're more domesticated, but most of the dogs are not what we think of today as the cute little, things we want to have in our lap and rub on. I also went to doing some more reading about the dogs and everything. I came across this particular author who got to talking about when Jesus was in the middle of his ministry, how the Pharisees and the Sadducees followed him around, and it likened them unto a pack of dogs. Whenever Jesus is trying to speak or teach, they're standing around just growling and making a bunch of noises and rambling on. When they got ready to get rid of Jesus, they packed up like a group of dogs. They packed up and they got vicious and they wanted to get rid of him at all costs. Now, if you know Chad, one of the things that he teaches us is in the Bible, when you see Pharisees and Sadducees, he's talking about church people. That's right. He'd be proud of you. And so I got to think, I said, dogs, church people. Dogs, church people. Could there be dogs in the church? Well, got to thinking and digging and looking and everything, and guess what? There are dogs in the church. The title of my message, and I've said it until now, is A Dog is Man's Best Friend. fact of life, supposedly. I got a question mark on the end of it because so far the dogs we've dealt with are not very nice. And the dogs that the church dogs I'm fixing to go over with you, probably not the nicest in the world. First one being, you ever seen a grumpy old dog? Got any grumpy old dogs? I got one, that picture. Grumpy old dogs, they like to lay in one spot. They don't like a lot of change. They don't want you to move them. They don't want you to change your food. They don't want you making a bunch of noise. They don't want you aggravating. They just want things to lie and be the way they are. We got a lot of people in churches nowadays like that. They don't want you to move the furniture. They don't want you to change the song you're singing out of what hymnal they're used to. They want to sit in a certain spot, and if you're in this spot, they're liable to growl at you. Second type of dog, bloodhound. We have bloodhounds in the church. What do bloodhounds do? Bloodhounds sniff. Bloodhounds are trying to find something, uncover something, usually criminal or bad or whatever. I ain't trying to call nobody. I hope I don't hurt anybody's feelings. I'm not particular. But they're going to walk around. They're going to sniff things out. They're going to figure out what's wrong, and they're going to tell everybody else about it too. Third type of dog is church bird dog. Part of the church bird dogs actually work with bloodhounds. Now there's two types of bird dogs, if you know much about bird dogs. You got pointers and you got setters. You got the bloodhounds pointing out or sniffing out what's going on. Then you got the pointers going. Can you believe what she was wearing today? Can you believe what I heard? Pointers. Setters, pretty self-explanatory. Setter's going to come in the door. He's going to come to his spot. He's going to put in his hour's worth of time at the church on Sunday, make his appearance. No more, no less. He's going to sit in there, not worry about working, not worry about the church getting ahead. That's all he wants to do is sit. Next one is called a pod dog. I have to kind of explain this one a little bit by telling you a little story. Once upon a time, there was a man. He was out in his backyard. He's grilling. He's cooking up. And he's got some steaks and hamburgers on the grill. And they're getting really good. And they're good and hot and sizzling. But he's got to walk away from the grill for a minute. When he does, old pot dog sitting down, he sees his moment. He jumps up and he grabs a piece of meat off the grill. He takes off and running. Well, he doesn't get but a couple of steps away, and he realizes that meat's hot. That meat starts burning his mouth. And he starts hollering, yelping. But guess what? He don't let go of that meat. Because his flesh is wanting that meat so bad that he don't want to let go of it. There's a lot of people in our churches today. They got a hold of something or something's got a hold on them. And they know it's hurting them. And they're even hollering about it. They'll even tell you about it. They just don't want to let it go. So it would seem that the dogs, be it the dogs in the Bible, the dogs in the church, aren't really the dogs we think about, the Fidos. They're kind of unsavory, not really welcome. And I hope there's dog lovers out there. You don't start throwing stuff at me because I'm not trying to beat up on them. But it brings me back to my question. A dog is man's best friend. Question mark. Is he? Well, before we make up our minds, let me tell you about some other dogs or some other people who we're going to kind of cross-reference as dogs. In Joshua 14, chapter 14, the children of Israel have been let out of bondage from Egypt. They've made their trek, and they get to the promised land that the Lord has promised them. And they send 12 spies into the promised land to check it out, to see what's going on. 12 spies come back. 10 of the 12 said, no way. They're giants, or they're going to kill us, or we can't do it. No way. 2 of them, Joshua, Caleb. 2 of them said, I don't care how big they are. I don't care what they got. We got God on our side, and he has told us it's ours. You know the story. They decided not to go. They wandered in the wilderness for 40 years till a generation died. But guess what? Caleb got to go. At 85 years old, Caleb, because of his faithfulness, because he was willing to do what the Lord had asked him to do, he was allowed to go into the promised land. Now, going back to my dogs. If I go to the front door and I say, let's go, I'm going to get run over because they're going to make a beeline right for the front door. And if you're in their way, you're going to get hit. I don't have to explain to them where I'm going. I don't have to explain to them why I'm going. I don't have to explain anything to them. They just know they're going. And the fact of the matter is, if the master's going, they want to go. Caleb, by the way, if you translate it from the Hebrew language, Caleb means dog. I thought that was pretty ironic. Let's use our criteria for a disciple. John. John was a good disciple. John gave up his life like all the other disciples, followed Jesus throughout his ministry, went through all the trials and tribulations, saw the miracles and everything. John watched as they crucified Jesus on the cross. After they crucified Jesus, John made it his mission to carry on the Lord's work, to preach the gospel. And so, excuse me, the Pharisees and Sadducees, they thought they'd gotten rid of Jesus, and here's this guy out there carrying it on. They said, John, if you don't stop, we're going to take you, put you on a boat, send you to an island by yourself. Now you're going to lay there and die the rest of your life. Now, John could have quit. John could have said whatever. John prayed. John said, God, if this is what you'd have me to do. And he held up a twig in the air, and he said, send a wind. And a wind came and blew that twig out of his hand, just as he had asked. And he said, let's go. I'm ready to go. They put him on the boat. They sent him off. Now, again, going back to my dogs, if my wife gets up in the middle of the night to go to the kitchen to get a drink of water, what happens? Every dog in the house gets up and they escort her to the kitchen to get her drink of water, and they escort her back. And let me let you know, I have hardwood floors in my house. It sounds like I've got 5 Fred Astaire's going just like that. I mean, it's an event. My point there is, though, they're ready to go. They don't need to know why she's getting up and going. They're ready to go, just like John was ready to go. There's a lot of traits that we can learn from our dogs. One of the greatest shows of exhibitions of love was Jesus giving his life on the cross for you and for me. It doesn't get any better than that. I was reading a story the other day about a family who had a house fire. All the family got out, including the dog. But the son of the family had remembered on the backside in the backyard he had left something, and he wanted to go around and get it. So he took off and left. Well, the dog came out, and he went from person to person in the family. And apparently the dog realized there was one missing. And he began going back and forth harder and harder and barking, trying to get everybody's attention. And they were like, what, boy, what, boy? Finally, the dog took off and ran back into the burning house. Yeah, and it's a sad ending. The house collapses. And later on, the fire department's able to put the fire out, and they go through the rubble. They find the skeleton, the remains of the dog, at the room of the child that was missing. That dog put the well-being of that child above his own life. The Bible says, a greater love has no man than this, that he lay down his life for a friend. Dogs can exhibit love. Sometimes give it more than we can give it to them. Scientific study says that a dog's mental capacity is that of a human toddler around the age of 2 to 3.5 years old. They can learn about 150 to 200 words and phrases. They really do recognize what we say. Now, if you ask my wife, she'll tell you that ours are on borderline of getting their master's degree. If they're doing something right. If they're doing something wrong, they just don't know any better. But anyway, I'm not comparing children to dogs. But knowing that a dog has the mentality of a child, it gives a different meaning to Mark 10, verse 15, and Luke 18, 17. You cannot enter the kingdom of God unless you have a childlike faith. So, is a dog's man's best friend? I think so. I think they've proven themselves. And even though we've got bad dogs that we can talk about and we can see in the Bible, we've got so many more good dogs, and we can take those traits and then reference them to people in the Bible and people around us. But what makes the difference? What makes a good dog or what makes a bad dog? I submit to you, it's the master. You take a dog who doesn't have a master and he runs wild. He has no care for others. He worries about only self. He runs with anybody that'll have him, and he'll put anything in his body that he can get a hold of. He has no concept of love. You take a dog with a master, and a master that cares for that dog knows love very well. As a matter of fact, that dog will give more love than he gets. The dog waits on his master's directions. The dog is happy just to be in the presence of the master. I had some pictures. We see these all the time, but these dogs, they love their master so much that next please. Doesn't matter what you have, what you don't have, where you live, a dog loves. A dog wants to be with his master. He eats what is provided to him by his master, and he's grateful for every little crumb that he gets. You kind of get the picture. We have a master. His name is Jesus. Jesus will teach you all about love. He'll show you all about love, even when you don't think you deserve it. He'll teach you how to love others when you think they don't deserve it. He supplies all our needs, and all he asks is that we be obedient. I want to close with a story about an old doctor. He still does house calls. And when he goes on his house calls, he takes a dog with him. He loves his dog. And he gets to the front door of every house, and he tells his dog, sit and stay. And he goes inside, and he visits with his patients. Well, on this particular day, this patient says, it's a terminal patient. He's actually dying, and he knows it. And he says, doctor, I'm scared. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what death's going to bring. I don't know what it's going to be like on the other side. Can you tell me? Tell me what it's going to be like. And the doctor looked at him and he said, I can't tell you what death's going to be like. I've never been there. He said, I can't tell you what it's like to be on the other side. I've not been there. He said, but I want to show you something. So he walks over to the door, and he turns the knob and he opens the handle, and the dog immediately jumps in and runs to him and jumps up on him. And he said, you see that dog? That dog's never been in your house. That dog did not know what's on the other side of this door. All that dog knew was his master was over here, and that's where he wanted to be. We don't know when we're going to die. We don't know how we're going to die. We don't know what's going to be on the other side when we get there. But I will tell you this, my master is on the other side. And I want to be with him.